Investiture of the Gods, Chapter 27.
Okay, let's get straight into it. We pick up right after, well, the unthinkable. Bingan, forced to protest the king's actions, has literally had to cut out his own heart. And somehow, he gets on his horse, rides out of the palace. King Zhu's marshal, Huang Yuanshui, sends a couple of guys, Huang Ming and Zhu Ji, to follow him. They must know this is, well, it's not going to end well.
Well, and the reason he even makes it out the gate is fascinating. It's not just willpower. There's this layer of esoteric protection involved. Zhang Ziazia, the great advisor, had foreseen trouble.
Ah, the Kunlun arts connection.
Precisely. Zia left Bigan instructions and a special talisman, a Thay. Bigan did exactly as told, burned it, mixed the ashes with water, drank it down.
Like a magical insurance policy.
Sort of, yeah. The text says it protected his vital organs, his wuzang. That's why, even without a physical heart, he could ride out the North Gate so quickly. No blood, nothing. He was temporarily shielded by Zia's magic.
Okay, but here's where it gets incredibly strange and frankly chilling, because the magic fails instantly. And it's not some big magical battle, it's just words, a conversation on the roadside.
Yeah, Bigan's riding miles out now, and he hears someone selling vegetables.
A woman. And she's yelling out what she's selling, Hai Wushin Kai.
Which translates to heartless vegetables.
Yeah.
Or maybe without heart vegetables. The ambiguity is part of it.
Bigan, this man, literally without a heart, but somehow still alive, he hears this phrase, and it stops him.
Yeah, irony is just cosmically cruel. He pulls up his horse.
And he asks her, probably just puzzled, how can vegetables be heartless? It seems like such an innocent question.
But it's the trigger.
Yeah.
Everything hinged on the answer. The woman, likely having no idea who she's talking to or his condition, just states the obvious fact. She says, if a person is without a heart, they die.
Oh, wow.
And that specific sentence, it's like the kill switch for the charm. The source implies Zia's magic was working against that fundamental truth. If she'd said anything else, oh, it's just a name, or even a person without a heart can live, he might have made it.
But she didn't. She stated the basic rule of existence.
And in that exact moment, the protection just vanishes. Bigan cries out, falls from his horse. The blood that the charm held back now spills onto the ground.
And the vendor?
She just bolts, sees a man suddenly drop dead after her comment. Understandable. But it's devastating. He endures this monstrous act by the king, only to be undone by a casual remark from a stranger.
It really hammers home that theme of fate operating in these almost mundane, unexpected ways.
Absolutely. It shows the limits of magic against, what's already written, and the moral foundation of the dynasty just crumbles right there.
So Bigan's death is this weird mix of magic and inescapable fate. But what happens next is pure human reaction, raw outrage. The news gets back to the court, right?
Right. Huang Ming and Zhu Ji report back to the 9-room hall. The officials are understandably horrified. But one of them, Xie Zhao, doesn't just mourn, he explodes.
Who was he exactly?
Xie Zhao. He was a Xie Dafu, so a lower-ranking official, but clearly fiercely loyal to the old ways. He just starts screaming, calling the king a wicked ruler, a Hunjun who killed his own uncle and destroyed all principles of governance, the Ji Gang he calls it. Utterly shattered.
And he doesn't just yell about it.
No, he bypasses everyone. Walks straight towards the Deer Terrace, the Lutai, this enormous opulent tower King Zhou built.
Which is exactly where the king is, waiting for Bigan's heart to be cooked into a soup. The sheer horror of that detail.
It's almost beyond belief. And Xie Zhao confronts him. The description is great. He refuses to bow, stands there with vertically raised eyes and furrowed brows. Pure defiance.
What does the king say?
He demands to know why Xie Zhao dared approach without being summoned. And Xie Zhao just lays it out. I came specifically to murder the ruler.
Wow. Okay, hold on. A minor official facing the king on his own turf, surrounded by guards. Did he actually think he could succeed, or was this like a suicide mission, a protest?
It feels like theater, yes, but deadly serious theater. A final public condemnation. When King Zhao sort of laughs it off, quoting the law, how can a subject kill a ruler, Xie Zhao flips it. He uses the king's logic against him. He says something like, a subject can't kill a ruler, but you also know a nephew shouldn't kill his uncle. It's a brilliant, devastating accusation hitting both political and familial loyalty at once.
And then he actually tries it.
He does. He grabs a sword hanging near the Flying Cloud sword and lunges at King Zhou.
But the king is apparently quite capable himself.
Yeah, the text mentions he's skilled in literary and military arts. He dodges easily. But as the guards rush in, Xie Zhao knows his part is played.
He made his point.
Exactly. He shouts that his duty is done, and rather than be captured, probably tortured, silenced, he makes this incredibly dramatic leap off the high deer terrace.
Jumps to his death.
Yes, shatters his body on the ground below Fin Go Sui Shan. A conscious act of martyrdom, making his death a very public, very physical statement against the king's tyranny.
So first, Bogan's fated, almost supernatural death. Then Xia Zhao's fiery, defiant suicide. The court must be in absolute chaos.
Total shock and mourning. But just as they're dealing with these two horrific events, everything shifts again. News arrives.
What news?
Grand Tutor Zhong Wen Taishi is coming home.
Ah, the Wen Taishi, the military powerhouse, the king's most powerful general.
The very same. He's been away fighting rebels up in the North Sea, and he's returning victorious. This is a massive moment. He represents the old guard, the discipline, the military might of the Shang dynasty.
So he has no idea what's been happening back in the capital.
None at all. He rides in through the North Gate on his famous ink-black Quillen, and the first thing he sees isn't celebration, it's funeral banners. White paper streamers fluttering.
Oh, that must have been a shock.
He asks whose funeral it is and learns it's Bigan's hearse. He's completely stunned. Then, as he rides on, he sees the city, and it feels wrong. The atmosphere is grim. He sees the deer terrace looming, described as Guang Qing Kwa, a magnificent but ominous.
He senses the change.
Deeply. When he finally reaches the Meridian Gate and meets the 100 officials, they're just subdued, silent. He remarks how much the city has changed. Jingyu Wucheng's Zhong Jin Juj Bianle.
And he meets Huang Feihu there, the warrior adept king.
Yes, and Huang Feihu basically confirms his worst fears. The government's in shambles, princes are rebelling, loyalty means nothing anymore. When Taishi goes into the main hall, and it's desolate. Dust on the dragon desk, a feeling of abandonment.
And then he sees it.
Then he sees it, standing in the hall, this huge, imposing, yellowish copper pillar, clearly not decoration.
It sounds sinister just from the description.
It is, and Wen Taishi, the ultimate military man returning to what should be order, demands to know what this thing is. Huang Feihu has to explain.
This is the Pao Lao, isn't it? The infamous torture device.
That's the one, the burning pillar or bronze toaster. Huang Feihu describes it in chilling detail. It's hollow brass, with 3 levels of gates underneath to stack charcoal.
To heat it up.
Red hot. White hot. Becomes a pillar of fire, essentially.
My God. And its purpose, it's not just random torture, is it? It's strategic.
Absolutely strategic. Huang Feihu explains its function. Any official, any loyal advisor who dares to criticize the king, to point out his faults,
Is seized.
They're chained to the red hot pillar and rolled over it until their limbs are just burned to ash. Lao Wei Hu Jin.
It's designed to guarantee silence, utter terror as a form of governance.
Exactly. It's the ultimate deterrent. Huang Feihu tells Wen Taishi the devastating result. It worked. All the good men are gone. The loyal have hidden, the worthy have retired, the capables have fled the country, and the faithful die martyrs. Like Bigan. Like Xia Zhao.
This is the state Wen Taishi finds his capital in. How does he react? He's known for his discipline, but also his immense power.
He doesn't just get angry.
Yeah.
He erupts. The
Yeah.
text gives this incredible visual. His fury is so intense it triggers his third eye, the divine eye in his forehead, where 3 suns converge.
Oh.
It snaps open and shoots out a beam of white light, about a foot long. By Guangxian Jianjin, it's like divine justice itself manifesting in his rage.
So this isn't just a general being angry. This is something more elemental.
Yes. He's not a politician. He's a powerhouse, almost a demigod in his own right. He sees the Pao Lao, hears about Bigan and Xia Zhao, understands the moral collapse, and he doesn't hesitate.
What does he do?
He immediately turns to the palace officer and issues a command. No discussion, no deliberation, just ring the bells, beat the drums, summon the king. Minzhong Kongjia.
He's calling the king out immediately.
The protector of the realm is now calling the ruler himself to account. King Zhou isn't even well. He's literally recovering from that infamous, horrific incident where he ordered the heart of his own loyal minister, Bigan, to be cut out.
Yeah, supposedly as a cure for Daji, who is manipulating everything behind the scenes.
Exactly. So the air in that throne room must have been incredibly heavy when Wen Zhong, the returning hero, the victor, is announced.
The contrast is just so stark, isn't it? You've got the ultimate symbol of external strength, Wenzon. This guy has secured the empire's borders through 15 years of brutal campaigns, extinguishing monsters and rebels.
All that fighting.
All that fighting. And he walks into a court that's completely poisoned from the inside by its own ruler.
So King Zhong starts off with the expected praise, right? Celebrating the Grand Tutor's long years of service.
The formalities. But Wenzong just cuts straight through it, almost immediately. He makes it clear that, yeah, victory abroad is great, but his real concern, his deep concern, is the, quote, internal chaos he's hearing about. And these reports of rebellious vassals cropping up everywhere.
Okay, so how does the king handle that?
Well, it's fascinating, actually. He goes straight into political spin mode. Zhou deflects. He claims 2 major vassals, Jiang Huanchu and Yi Chongyu, were executed, but because they committed treason. He's trying to frame it like they were the problem, and now their sons are just continuing the trouble. He's basically playing the victim.
Trying to rewrite history on the spot. But Wenzong, he's not buying it.
Not for a second. He doesn't even need external reports at this point. He wants proof of justice right there, right then. And that's when he delivers this just powerful rhetorical dagger. He looks the king square in the eye and demands, "Who can testify?"
Wow. Who can back up your story?
Exactly. And that single question just stops the whole conversation cold. The source material is explicit. King Zhou is left completely speechless. It's like an intellectual bet punch. Wenzong isn't just asking a question. He's daring the king to produce one single, loyal, unbiased witness left in that court who can legitimize these executions that look awfully convenient.
So this is the moment Wenzong realizes, oh boy, this isn't just bad policy.
It's way past that. He realizes he can't use traditional political means anymore. The executions didn't stop treason. The executions caused the treason by enraging the families and allies of those killed. He sees the king isn't just misguided, he's fundamentally compromised, rotten.
Okay, so if words and reason won't work, what does he do?
Well, he shifts tactics. He moves from challenging the king's motives to confronting the physical evidence of tyranny, the new, frankly, monstrous structures that have been built right there in the palace grounds while he was away.
Ah, right. The interrogation gets very direct now. When Zhong starts listing things he literally saw on his walk into the palace, forcing Zhou to admit they exist and explain them. First, he asks about these weird, yellowish-orange things he spotted east of the main hall.
Yeah, Huang Ding Deng De. And King Zhu's answer, it confirms the institutionalization of terror. It's chilling. He casually admits, oh, that's the cannon heater, the Pao Lu.
The cannon heater. And its purpose?
Not for common criminals, no. Its specific purpose, as the king himself states it, is to punish those gaining merit by opposing the ruler.
Gaining merit by opposing. That phrase is jest.
Oh, wow. It's twisted, isn't it? It basically means the only way a courtier can gain genuine merit is by speaking truth to power, by offering honest criticism. And the king has built a torture device specifically designed to eliminate that merit, to silence anyone loyal enough to object. It's a tool for destroying the very concept of loyal advice.
So loyalty is now the most dangerous job in the kingdom.
Pretty much. It tells you everything about the paranoia. If you love the dynasty enough to criticize the king's actions, you face execution by fire. It's institutionalized.
Okay. What else did Wenzong see? There was something else.
Yes. The second thing, he asks about the massive, ridiculously tall, towering structure that's now dominating the skyline. This is the infamous Deer Terrace. The Lutai.
Their Deer Terrace.
Yeah.
And Zhu's excuse for this monument to himself.
Oh, it's almost comical that weren't so tragic. He claims it was built for, enjoying the summer breeze. For viewing afar, supposedly to prevent his ears and eyes from being blocked.
He's claiming building a giant expensive tower improves his governance.
That's the line he's selling. Better views equal better rule, apparently.
And Wenzong, this man who's just spent 15 years in brutal warfare fighting for stability, he must be just aghast.
Absolutely. He's watching the king excuse this monumental waste and cruelty as some kind of public service project. And this is where Wenzong's condemnation really lands. He declares flat out, benevolent rule is not implemented. Renjing Bushi, loyal advice is not accepted. Zhong Buna, the basics of good governance are gone.
He sees it all clearly now.
Crystal clear. And he uses that incredibly powerful, just gut-wrenching metaphor to describe his entire life's work. He bitterly compares his 15 years of service, all that sacrifice, to establishing a swallow's nest on rotten cloth.
Wow, Xingqin Lian Chao Yu Shu Mur, it was always doomed.
Always doomed, because the foundation, the king himself, was already poisoned, corrupt, rotten.
His point is devastatingly clear. All those victories on the frontier mean absolutely nothing if the state itself, the very thing he was fighting for, is crumbling from the inside out. So King Zhou predictably just flees. He retreats back into the palace. But Wenzong knows he can't just rely on his own shock and observations, right? He needs the full picture from those who stayed.
Exactly. He needs the internal consensus. What did the loyalists who witnessed this firsthand see? So it's exactly what he does next. He gathers the remaining loyal officials, the ministers, the grand masters at his own residence, the Taishifu. He needs a definitive, structured account of everything that happened in his absence. It's the only way to even begin to think about a strategy.
And this is where we get the full horrifying atrocity log. It's suggested, I think, by the official Sun Rong that the highly respected Wu Cheng Wang Huang Feihu should present the list to keep it orderly.
Yeah, to avoid just a chaotic outpouring of grief and anger. They need a clear, point-by-point summary to grasp the true scale of the disaster. So Huang Feihu steps up. And where does he start? Right at the corrupted heart of it all, the royal family itself.
Okay, lay it on us. What's first?
The first items speak directly to the king's just stunning self-destruction. The former Empress Tiang, the queen, subjected to absolutely barbaric mutilation. We're talking blinding her, branding her hands. Just unthinkable cruelty. But maybe even more shocking, Huang Feihu confirms that King Zhou killed his own sons. Shazi Zhulun.
Killed his. He murdered his own heirs. The dynastic succession itself.
Threw it away. If the king will slaughter his own children, mutilate his own wife like that, there is literally no one he'll protect. No principle he respects anymore.
That sets a terrifying precedent.
And that personal brutality immediately radiates outwards into the political structure. Huang Feihu next details how Zhou tricked various powerful vassals into coming to the capital, lured them into a trap, and then brutally executed them. We're talking about the mincing and slaughter of high ministers, Lu Chen. This wasn't random violence, it was a systematic purge to eliminate any potential regional power bases or dissent.
Which confirms the purpose of those new tools he built.
Exactly. Huang Feihu confirms the death of Grandmaster Meibo, a really respected elder statesman. And how did Meibo die? Specifically using the cannon heater, the Paoluit.
So it wasn't just theoretical. He actually used it on senior officials.
He used it. It shows the king wasn't reserving this horror for minor dissenters. He used it to eliminate powerful, influential men. It sent a message. No one is safe from my wrath.
Okay, so while this internal purge is happening, what about external threats or potential rivals?
Well, they managed to neutralize the most stable and respected external power, too. Huang Feihu recounts the imprisonment of Ji Chang, the Duke of the West, later King Wen of Zhou, locked up in Yuli for 7 long years. By isolating the most virtuous and stable vassal, Zhou basically torpedoed the kingdom's overall stability.
Right. Take the wise man off the board. Meanwhile, back at the palace.
It descends into just grotesque luxury and outright sadism. Huang Feihu vividly describes the construction of the star-picking tower, the Zhaijing Lu, which wasn't just about extravagance, it also featured the notorious scorpion pit, the Chai Pin.
The scorpion pit. Explain that one.
It's as horrific as it sounds. Palace maids who displeased Daji or the king were thrown into a pit filled with venomous snakes and scorpions, thrown to agonizing deaths right below this towering monument to the king's pleasure. The contrast is just depraved.
Pleasure upstairs, unimaginable suffering downstairs. And this was alongside the wine pool and meat forest.
Yeah, the Juchi Rulin. Exactly what it sounds like. A pool filled with wine, trees hung with cooked meats, pure, excessive, wasteful hedonism while the kingdom starved and suffered.
And the suffering wasn't just metaphorical. The building projects had real human costs.
Huge costs. Huang Feihu recounts that the construction of the Deer Terrace alone caused the death of an official named Zhao Qi. He apparently fell from the structure. But the truly devastating impact on the common people came from the labor policies, specifically under the corrupt supervising official Chong Huhu.
Ah, yes. This is where we get that insane conscription rate. What was it again?
It's almost unbelievable. The official policy was 2 men drafted out of every 3 available. It means the wealthy were obviously buying their way out, bribing officials like Chong Huhu. So the impossible quotas fell entirely on the poor. If a family only had 1 son, tough luck. They were still liable for the labor draft or crippling extortion fees they couldn't possibly pay. It was designed to break them.
And the result?
The source is horribly clear. This policy led to peasants literally dying from exhaustion on the construction site, and then their bodies were used to fill the foundation of the Deer Terrace.
Wait, what? They used the bodies as landfill?
To fill the earthworks. The king is literally building his pleasure tower on the mass graves of his own subjects, killed by his own impossible demands.
That's monstrous. Absolutely monstrous. And if anyone dared speak out against this?
Dealt with swiftly and brutally. Huang Feihu gives another example. Grandmaster Yang Ren. For daring to advise against the ruinous Deer Terrace project, his eyes were gouged out. One queer move.
Gouged out. like Bigan's heart. It's mutilation is policy.
Exactly, punishing him for daring to see the truth of the king's folly. And then his body was, well, lost, disposed of.
The list just keeps going.
Uh-huh.
It culminates, though, in the most recent, most infamous act, right? The one that happened just before when Zhong got back.
Bigan's murder, yes. Tricked into having his heart surgically removed, his supposedly cunning heart, all to cure Daji of a fake illness. Huang Feihu confirms Daji engineered the whole thing specifically to eliminate Bigan, who was her biggest political threat and had exposed her fox spirit nature. It confirms the internal enemy isn't just the king's awful judgment, it's active, malignant influence from sycophants and, well, supernatural forces manipulating him.
So Huang Feihu basically concludes the nation's broken. Irreparably.
Fundamentally broken. He states flatly that the king believes flatterers and corrupt officials like Daji and Cheng Hu, treating them like glue and paint, inseparable, Channing Sinru Jiaoqi. While loyal, honest men like Wenzong himself, like Bigan, like Meibo, are viewed as enemies. Zhongliang Shiru Kucho.
Hearing this whole catalog of horrors laid out, Wenzong's reaction must have been overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. The text says he screams aloud in shock and fury, Li Sheng Da Zhao, and he immediately blames himself. He acknowledges that by focusing only on external threats, he neglected his duty and misled the affairs of the state.
That's a heavy burden. He realizes his success on the battlefield actually gave the king the security and the time needed to destroy the kingdom from within, completely unhindered.
It's a terrible irony. But even then, the old loyalist in him refuses to just give up entirely. Despair hasn't totally won yet.
So what's the next move? Is there even one?
Well, despite the sheer unbelievable scope of the tragedy, Wenzong knows they need some kind of plan, an immediate final attempt. He dismisses the grieving officials, seals the gates to his own residence, and locks himself away for 4 days, poring over ancient texts, laws, precedents, trying to find a way back.
And he comes up with...
He emerges with his final desperate gambit to save the dynasty, the famed 10 policies, the Shi Dao Qiaochen. His intention, his desperate hope, is to present this reasoned, comprehensive political plan to King Zhou, a final appeal to reason to try and secure the ancestral shrines, and Shiji, to save the state itself.
10 demands. It's like a whole manifesto for regime change, but without actually, swapping the ruler. But we know from the source material, he accepts 7 points but rejects 3. And those 3, they're the core issues. We should probably frame those right away.
Yeah, good idea. We can sort of group the 10 demands into maybe 3 buckets. First, hitting the king's indulgence and his tools of fear. Second, the personnel changes, the purge. And third, the stability measures. And those 3 rejected points, let's call them the pillars of corruption, right? Demolishing the Deer Terrace, executing the bootlickers, Fei Zong and Yuhan, and getting rid of Daji. When Zhong knew, I think, that the other 7 wouldn't stick unless these 3 core problems were dealt with first.
Okay, let's start with that first block. The attack on indulgence, targeting the obvious symbols of the king's, bad behavior.
Yeah.
What were those first 4 points?
Number 1 on the list. Tear down the Deer Terrace. This thing was built with unlimited funds, crushing the people with forced labor. It was this giant monument to the king's ego. When Zhong wanted it gone, physically removed this source of public anger.
So not just the building itself, but also the king's private torture devices almost. Point 2 was abolishing the fiery pillar, the powwow. That horrific punishment, roasting people alive on a copper pillar. Ugh.
And Wenzong specifically linked getting rid of it to letting loyal officials speak up.
Yeah, exactly. His point was, if you take away the ultimate tool of terror, maybe honest advice can actually get through. You open up the lines of communication, then you have the more internal symbols. Point 3, fill in the snake pit, this weird deadly moat thing used for, palace security and getting rid of enemies. And point 4, get rid of the giant wine pool and meat forest. This wasn't just about saving money. It was actively causing criticism from the nobles. It basically advertised the king's decay to everyone, practically inviting rebellion.
Okay, so first 4 points. Deal with public anger, remove the tools of fear, restore some basic decency. Now, the personnel purge. The people posing the immediate threat to the king's judgment.
Yeah, this is where Wenzong gets really specific. Point 5, demote Daji. He's blunt about it. He says she started the cruel punishments, and they need a proper queen. The goal. Eliminate the internal bewitchment, as he called it, that's poisoning the court. She's seen as the source of the rot.
But was she really the source?
Mm.
Or just, the most obvious target for Wenzong politically?
Well, she's the perfect symbol, isn't she? She represents Zhou throwing away his responsibilities. When Zhong uses her to force the king, choose duty or choose pleasure, and point 6 follows right from that. Execute the top sycophants, Fei Zong and Yuhun. When Zhong demands it immediately, he says doing this will please the people and, clean up the court, stop the king from being led astray.
Right. And then the last 4 points seem like pretty standard, sensible statecraft, about restoring stability.
Totally. Essential stuff for getting the country back on its feet. Point 7, open the granaries, feed the starving people. Basic, right. Point 8, send envoys right away to deal with the rebellion brewing in the southeast. Point 9, actively go find worthy people hiding out, hermits or whatever, bring fresh blood into the government. And point 10, listen to loyal advice, open things up so people aren't afraid to speak. Basically, unchoke the system.
It's a solid plan.
Mm-hmm.
But the real fireworks start when he actually presents it. He gives the memorial to the king and then does something incredibly bold. He stands right there by the throne, grinds the ink, wets the brush, and hands the pen to King Zhou, demanding he sign it. Like, now.
Yeah, talk about putting them on the spot. He gave Zhou zero room to wiggle, no chance to pass it off or delay. It was designed to force the king's hand in front of everyone, and King Zhou is just stuck, caught between Wenzong's immense authority and his own defensive arrogance. He caves on the 7 easy ones, but his personal attachments, his ego, they just won't let him sign off on those 3 core reforms.
Let's dig into those 3 rejections. How did King Zhou actually justify keeping the very things ruining his kingdom?
The excuses really show how far gone he was. For the Deer Terrace, he basically said, well, we spent so much money building it, destroying it now would be truly a waste. He cared more about the money already spent than, the future of the entire state.
Wow. The sunk cost fallacy on a kingdom-destroying scale, ego stopping him from admitting a huge mistake.
Totally.
Yeah.
Then Dodgy. He claims she's virtuous and graceful, completely faultless, just flat-out denial about her influence or that his choice of queen was maybe a problem. And for Fei Zong and Yuhun, this is maybe the most cynical part, he says they have merit and no crime, refuses to admit he's surrounded by flatterers who are manipulating him.
Zhong must have seen this as a disaster. He tells the king straight up, these 3 things aren't minor points, they are the source of order and chaos. He's warning him, don't mess this up, don't hesitate, trying to use sheer moral weight to force the king's hand.
And that's the fuse. That's when the political drama just explodes into actual violence, because the 2 guys he just condemned, Fei Zong and Yuhun, they show up. And they see their chance, right? Attack Wenzong while the king is right there, seemingly wavering.
Oh yeah, here's where it gets really physical. Fei Zong, the smooth talker, steps up and uses the king's own rules against Wenzong. What was the charge exactly?
Fei Zong basically accused him of treason through disrespect. He argued Wenzong was breaking protocol by holding the brush and forcing the sovereign. He said criticizing the queen and ordering executions without process was great disrespect to the king himself, essentially accusing Wenzong of muscling the king on his own throne. A very dangerous accusation.
And Wenzong, who's just ridden miles and miles to save this kingdom, only to be blocked by this sycophant quoting ruled at him, he just snaps. Calls Fei Zong a silver-tongued bewilderment to the ruler, hauls off and punches him, knocks him right off the marble steps, face all bruised.
It's a huge moment. This physical act from the Grand Tutor, usually this respected scholar official figure, striking a minister right in front of the king. It shows how desperate things were. When Zhong clearly decided talking was over, only force could clear out the rot now.
But the second Fei Zong goes down, Yuhun jumps in, right? Accusing Wenzong of basically attacking the king by hitting his minister there.
Wenzong doesn't even pause. He calls them both thieving ministers, slaps Yuhun so hard the guy goes tumbling like several meters, and then he just orders them both executed on the spot at the Meridian Gate. He's completely bypassing the system, using his military authority to try and save the state.
You'd think the king would step in right then. But his reaction is really telling. Silence. Internally, the text says he admits Fei and Yu sought their own humiliation. He knows they deserved it. But still protective of his cronies, he refuses the execution order.
It's a clever dodge by the king, really. He doesn't directly defy Wenzong, but he uses procedure as a shield. He promises, oh yeah, we'll do all 10 eventually.
Yeah.
But he delays the 3 big ones for further deliberation. And instead of execution, he sends Fei and Yu off to the judiciary for investigation, claiming their guilt isn't proven yet.
Using the law to protect the guilty. Wenzong must have realized he was checkmated. If he pushes harder, physically forces the execution, he becomes the criminal, right?
Mhm.
Guilty of deceiving the ruler.
Yeah.
So he has to back down. Niels asks the king just to implement the 7 reforms they did agree on.
But that tense quiet, that stalemate, it gets shattered almost immediately by, well, reality intruding. Just as that argument hits its peak, news arrives. Pingling Wang has started a massive rebellion in the East Sea.
So a huge military crisis suddenly trumps the political one when Zhong talks with General Huang Feihu, right?
Yeah.
And decides he has to lead the army
Yeah.
himself.
He decides he needs to take, 200,000 troops and go deal with this East Sea rebellion personally, which means leaving Huang Feihu in charge back at the capital.
And that's a huge deal, because Wenzong knows he's removing the only person strong enough to actually enforce those purges he wanted. Before he leaves, he does this very public thing, making Huang Feihu drink the king's wine first.
Right, a very visible transfer of responsibility almost.
And his instructions to Huang Feihu are basically dripping with anxiety. The court lacks a leader. Everything depends on you. If there's injustice, speak up directly. Don't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to pass that moral authority, that backbone, to the only other guy who might stand up to Zhou.
And his last words to King Zhou himself are like a final plea to just freeze things politically, focus on state stuff, listen to good advice, and critically, do not change the established laws. He's begging the king not to undo the 7 reforms the minute his back is turned.
So how did King Zhou take all this? This massive confrontation, Wenzong leaving. The text says Zhou was greatly relieved, actually, glad Wenzong was leaving so he wouldn't be disturbed anymore. He saw it as freedom, not a crisis.
Yeah, it's pretty chilling. The sources wrap up with Wenzong heading east, noting this whole strange incident, this political failure, is just going to lead to more conflict down the road. Wenzong managed to legislate reforms, yes, 7 of them, but he failed on the crucial 3, the ones about behavior, about corruption at the core. So effectively, he just managed to get himself removed from the center of power, leaving the king free to slide back into his old ways.